I'm sorry, but it's about time we talked about it. Azula is just as misunderstood as Zuko. Because I genuinely don't think y'all understand how unfair Azula had it. And I know that sounds probably crazy for y'all that watched just the series. That's why I say it's important to read the books, because you realize how misunderstood Azula was. But I really want y'all to understand that Azula is 14. Katara was also 14. And they both have very obsessive natures in regards to their mother. Their trauma may be completely different, but the obsession is still the same. But I hate to say it, when Katara did this is how y'all reacted.
Happening to me!
Azula fire a fire blast at Iroh, and y'all act like this.
No, she's crazy and she needs to go down.
All because Azula ain't afraid to pull that trigger and Katara be shooting at people's feet? That deserves grace? Azula's relationship with her mother is very complex, but also very simple at the same time. Because people got this misunderstanding where it's so focused on Zuko losing his mother, is that Azula also lost a mother as well. And more people feel sympathy for Zuko instead of looking at it through Azula's lens. So imagine you have a sibling where y'all both share the same parents, and one of your parents have to leave forever, and they choose to go visit your sibling instead and never see you again. Oh yeah, and mind you, as a kid, she would say stuff like this behind your back, but you're able to still hear it.
Mom liked Zuko more than me, but I don't really care. My own mother thought I was a monster.
And it's very clear that she got way worse abandonment issues than Zuko. So yeah, imagine being 14 and dealing with all of that. And what makes it even worse, she left Azula feeling unprotected, along with Ozai where she felt like this.
You did this to me. I'm sorry. You left me to run.
For years upon years, Zuko has always wished that he was in Azula's spot, wanting to have the love and approval of his own father. But for Azula, it was very complicated. She wishes that she had it as easy as Zuko did. With him having an actual organic relationship with his girlfriend and friends, and her being robbed from those experiences, because the only way she knows how to form relationships is from what her dad taught her, was through lying and manipulation and fear. When her close childhood friends turned on her, she genuinely couldn't handle it.
I love Zuko more than I fear you.
No, you miscalculated. You should have feared me more.
When the tactics that she learned from her father was thrown in her face by something she has never experienced before, and that was the beginning of Azula's spiral. It's bad enough that she felt betrayal because her mother left her, to be left alone and unprotected with Ozai. Meanwhile, Zuko is still being protected, and her closest friends also chose Zuko over her like her mother. What makes things even more complex is that Azula's biggest desire is also Azula's biggest fear. Because I know you remember the Zuko scene where he talks to Aang about Azula while they was in the North Pole.
My father says she was born lucky. He says I was lucky to be born.
Azula's biggest desire is for her mother to treat her like Zuko. But at the same time, her biggest fear is that her father treats her like Zuko. Because if you look at it from Azula's lens, not only did Ozai burn and banish his firstborn boy child, but now all of his attention will be strictly on Azula. But at the same time, Azula has to fall in line, because now Azula is even less of a daughter and more of a soldier. She came to terms with her mother being gone, primarily through denial, but it's okay as long as Zuko was here to take the brunt of Ozai's abuse, and less pressure on her because all she has to do is be better than Zuko. When Zuko was banned, she was still hunting for his father's honor and approval. Meanwhile, Azula was in the same palace as Ozai, and she was also fighting for Ozai's approval. At least Zuko had the approval of his friends, his girlfriend, Uncle Iroh, and also his mother, the short time that they was together with each other, before she was exiled. Meanwhile, Azula had no one, or at least nothing that she felt was actually genuine in comparison to Zuko. Because it's like she said, you abandoned me. You weren't there to protect me from Ozai, so I became what he wanted, his deadly firebending weapon. I didn't have a choice. So of course when she meets her mother again, she feels anger, because she was the first and the ultimate betrayal.
What's the matter? Lost for words? How long did you wait before replacing me, huh? A month? I trusted you! And you just left me to die!
Because Azula don't know what to do with that anger because her mother lost all her memories. And her apologizing simply broke Azula. But it feels hollow and far too late. And the sad point is Azula's mother was willing to kill someone in order to protect Zuko, even though there was a risk of death or banishment. Meanwhile, Azula felt and thought that her mother saw her as nothing more than a mere monster, causing Azula to think something was wrong with her, but at the same time begging for her mother's attention and love.
No! Bruce! Don't leave me! Please!
But not only her mother, but it was other people also thought that she was too far gone and she was unredeemable. So when during Susan's comment, after the betrayal and feeling like a complete monster from her mother, her friends, and almost everybody except for her own father, who created her to be that way. But in a brief moment, and I mean like the absolute slightest moment that she felt like she was going to be treated like Zuko was, or that her father was going to abandon her just like everyone else, she couldn't take it.
Change of plans, Azula.
What?
I've...
You can't treat me like this! You can't treat me like Zuko!
So just like her mother, he turned his back on her, and she felt betrayed again. Azula being misunderstood is 100% an understatement. Because people could chop it up to her being a villain, but at the same time, people don't take a moment and look at it from her perspective. And it is no slight at Zuko at all. He had great character development and one of the best redemption arcs of all time. And he is one of the original members that actually had a happily ever after. The line between Zuko and Azula isn't much different. They are almost the definition of the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Azula's relationship with other people is the absolute contrast of Zuko's relationship with other people. By the end of the series, after he already went through his redemption arc and him righting his wrongs and the wrongs of the entire Fire Nation. Even though after the series it gets kind of messy after that, which I suggest that everybody take a chance and read the book The Promise, because that takes place literally right after the ending episode. So you're literally starting back right where you left off. Plus, it will give everybody a chance to actually read up on the lore of Avatar, which is so interesting. Also look for the Avatar book, The Search. It tells you what happens to Zuko and Azula's mom. Now, I'm not saying that Azula wasn't wrong for what she did. All I'm saying is she wasn't evil for the sake of being evil. Like, I do understand that she was a certain way when her mother was still around, but remember in those flashbacks, who was her mother around the most? It was primarily Zuko, so guess where she spent her time with and learning from. Also learning that it's okay to hurt things that can't defend themselves, no matter who or what it is. Like I said again, I'm not justifying any of her actions. All I'm saying is look at it from a different perspective. Because very early on, she was a little girl. Her mom didn't love her dad and hated her dad, to be honest. And because she reminded her so much of her dad, she kept her distance from Azula, but chose to protect Zuko. And that's because Zuko reminds her of the love that she once had, far before Ozai. And the only parental figure that she can go to wants her as a weapon. Like, my lord, there's a reason I use these Jason Todd clips. Because the parallels are pretty damn close. Because when he was a Robin, he was a more violent one. And then he felt betrayed by Batman for letting him die. But Jason Todd doesn't have any flaws, but Azula's pure evil. An even better comparison for how misunderstood Azula was is Harley Quinn, who started out as a psychiatrist. And she was a psychiatrist at Arkham, but she felt seen by someone like the Joker. And yes, I do understand that there's a difference between a love interest and a father and daughter relationship. But Joker and Fire Lord Ozai treat Harley Quinn and Azula borderline the same exact way, where they know for a fact that person is going to listen to every word that they say in order to get their approval. No matter how crazy or insane the order, those two would be willing to do it in a heartbeat just so they can get somewhat approval or to be seen. And for those people that don't remember the old school Harley Quinn, Joker used to abuse her daily. And of course, Joker would enjoy it to death. Harley Quinn would enjoy hurting people as well. Also, what makes them similar is when the person that they're seeking approval from denies them, it sends them into a downward spiral. Harley Quinn became a character that can be redeemed much later, but it took some time. Much similar to how long it would take to redeem Azula. Of course, she's going to fight back against anybody that helps her. That's literally how she was taught. When people judge too hard about Azula when she was a kid and how her behavior seemed a bit mean, but she wasn't evil. That's just over exaggeration. Like, oh, she pushed over Ty Lee. So what? We have seen kids do way worse than what Azula was doing as a kid. But imagine if they was able to just magically make fire out of nowhere. For my viewers that are parents, because, I ain't got no kids. But I do got nieces. There's a reason that there's a saying about terrible twos, or whenever kids act up or do anything insane of that nature. If said parent don't correct it, the kid is going to think it's okay. Y'all acting like she was on some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, bringing home roadkill, and her parents are normal. Her dad is a literal warlord that enjoys hurting and killing things that are defenseless, and rewards her whenever she listens to him. Y'all acting like she was evil from the jump, like she's Lamilton.
You said that sometimes you hurt people. How do you hurt people?
Hit them.
Sick.
I don't care about my lungs. It's fun to smoke. I like doing unhealthy things.
Y'all acting like Azula grew up like that. She took joy in it because it was a learned behavior that was also rewarded.
Hello? Zuko here.
And if you like that video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know what you think the next video should be based off of. Because like I say at the end of all my videos, I read every comment and I make sure that y'all are heard. Because I'm trying to get to 50K by the end of the year, I would love to have your support and hear more about your ideas. I hope you're able to apply these words in your everyday life. And Lily, thanks for watching. Oh, and a reminder, drink water.
Perfection and power are overrated. I think you are very wise to choose happiness and love